Hey everyone, how are we tonight? Welcome, welcome. Repping some sulfuric tonight. Okay, so tonight I thought I'd just talk about finishing tracks. Good evening, Adrian. Hope you're good tonight. Who else have we got with us? So tonight I thought I would talk about finishing tracks because it's a big thing, knowing when your track's finished, and knowing it's good enough, and what point do you say I'm not going to do any more to this track. Evening, James. Evening, Marcus. Hope you're good. Hope the weather's a bit better in San Fran than it is here. So tonight I thought I'd talk about finishing tracks, and I think it's a really important thing to talk about. Really, it's not just technical, because there was a stage when I was finishing tracks, I was listening to them dead loud, and I was sending them out to people, and then I'd come back a week later and listen to it, and they weren't ready. And it was a mistake because, first impressions count, and if you're sending records out and people, A&Rs aren't liking it, you can only send them so many before they start ignoring you, unless you've got a really good relationship with them. So you need to know when they're finished. So one of the things that I do is I have a group of people that I send them to, ask them for an honest opinion, and then take their feedback and decide whether I agree with them or whether I don't agree with them. So I'm going to run over a track that I've done here, and I think version 1 of this, how long have I been doing this track for now? Let me have a quick look at this. I've been doing this track now for been doing it for about a year and a half. And the reason is I got asked to remix this track by my friends at One Love in Australia, and I listened to it and I thought, I really like the vocal. And then I went down this rabbit hole of trying to make it sound old school and disco-y and like a sampled track. So what I did was I got all the parts together, made all the parts to the vocal, and then I resampled them, and then I put them into one file, put them through the S2400 to try and get that vintage kind of sound, and I didn't really like it. So what I did then was just break it up into the separate parts like this. Did it all in the SP, and then today I've come back to it thinking I'm going to get rid of this record. I'm going to get it out there because I did it with Terry B, and she's a great singer and it's a great vocal, but it needs to be out there. And I'm going through my tracks that I've not finished, making sure that I finish them. Whether I put them out or not, I'm going to finish them. So I've finished this a couple of times, and it's just never quite gone to me. This is brilliant. So this morning I woke up at 5 o'clock, thought I'd have a listen through the Beatport charts, the house, listening to stuff like a little bit Tool, Rumi, Mark Knight, James Hurr, all that kind of stuff, looking for disco stuff that I could do this for. So I thought to myself, right, I'm going to go do it one more day today. I'm going to change it around, change the drums, make it a little bit more that kind of style, and then I'm going to finish it. So I did it this morning, I've had a client in this afternoon, and then I've sent it to a couple of people, and they all really like it. I'm still kind of unsure on it whether it's my style now, but it is, and I really like it. And yeah, you have a listen, tell me what you think.
I've been searching around for a man to call my own. Seems like a big waste of time. Now I end up here alone. I wear my heart in my hands, but it's not working out as I planned. All I need is affection. I'm just doing the best that I can. So if we spend one night, would that be alright? We could spend one night, it's gonna be alright. 'Cause it's a one night love affair. You make my body sing. It's a one night love affair. Got me calling you baby, wanting you baby. Two wrongs don't make a right, but I dedicate my body tonight. I need to feel you touch me, feel you deep inside. No more regrets, this moment feels so right. I could never forget when we came up to share this night. So if we spend one night, would that be alright? We can spend one night, it's gonna be alright, yeah. 'Cause it's a one night love affair. You make my body sing. It's a one night love affair. Got me calling you baby, wanting you baby. Got me needing you.
So yeah, I've made this track and I've just not been sure about it, but it's a great vocal and Terry wants to put it out and she loves the track. So all I've done today is just toughen up the drums, gone from just using the SP, and some of it still is, to making it just a bit more jacking, a bit more, a lot of the stuff that you're seeing. Yeah, the strings, somebody else said they don't like the strings. I quite like the strings, that's the thing about it. The real strings, so they've been resampled. Yeah, and so I've just not been sure about it. So I'm having to make a call where I'm going, right, what am I going to do with this track? And the problem you've got is when you just keep going back to a track, it kind of does your head in so much that you can't look at it with the right perspective. And yeah, so it's good. I really like it. There's a lot of stuff that I like about it. Love the bass line. I do like the strings, the piano. So I had some really nice drums on it, and I just thought I'm just going to slam it. So I just went and got a couple of loops, put a couple of loops in there, changed the clap to something a bit more aggressive, trying to get the track a bit slamming. And so I'm going to sleep on it tonight and then come back to it tomorrow and decide whether I want to release it. And if not, I'll just send it back to Terry and let her keep the vocal. But I keep stepping away from it. But then when I listen to it, I go, oh, I really like that. So, but is it as good as my other tracks I've got out? So I've had the one on Jackie's with Todd, I've done one on Sulfuric. I've got one coming out on Groove Culture. I've got one coming out on Motive, which are all good labels, all get chart positions. And this is like, I don't know. So what I might do is just send it out to a few labels, see if they like it, and if they don't, then I might just release it on my label as a second kind of track, or do a really cool dub, which kind of pushes it forward a little bit more. But it's the problem you got with this kind of music is it's all bootlegs. Everything that I hear by James Herr and Mark and all them kind of people, it's all covers. So you're struggling at the best of times just by doing something original, unless it gets on the right label. So that's what I'm doing with this track, and that's what you've got to think about, is like, what is the point where the track's finished, and at what point do you go, I've done everything I can on this, I keep going back to it, there's a part of a voice at the back of my head that's going, it's good, but is it good enough to put out? And so I'll let other people decide on that. It's got loads of energy, it's got loads of appeal about it. Like I said, the bass line's good, the drums are good. I like the strings. And that's the other thing about people's opinion. If someone said to me, if James said to me, there's way too much bass in that, or that kick sounds like a techno kick, or I'd take that on board and go, yeah, okay, yeah, look at it, and I'd attend to it. When it comes to things like sounds that I'm using, I'm at a point now where I just think, do I like it? I'll take on everyone's opinion, and then I'll decide what I'm going to do. And even though I spent a lot of money getting them strings done, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So any questions for us tonight, everybody? Hey, Buddha Chris. If you want, I'll run through this track if you want. So basically, it's got layers. So the output, I've got a bit of automation on the volume so that things pick up when it comes out of breaks. Just gives a bit of energy because the build-ups were getting big. There's nothing worse than when you see a track and on the build-up you see all this dark energy going up and then it drops, and I can tell when I get a promo and I look at the waveform that it's gonna kill itself when it comes out of the break. So it's always good to get rid of that energy, even though it's building, so that when the drop comes in, it hits you with even more energy. So I did that. Vocal bus, the vocals came wet, so I've not really done much there. Bit of EQ. And then I did it all in the S2400 originally. So again, a bit of a gain, which is different to the pre-master gain, because I didn't want it to touch the vocal, and the vocal's not in the S2400 bus. So I've got that on there. And I've got a sample bus, okay, which has got everything in really. So besides the vocal, so that's got a Moog filter on it, filtering up and down. And as you can see, I've done that by hand in different places. I've just got a Pro Q3 in there and an endless smile, because I don't want the endless smile on the vocal. And then I've got the kick bus, nothing on there. Kick. I've got this. DBX just tighten up the bottom end. Pro Q3 is automated. Yes, and that should be in linear phase. So I will, if I feel like it needs tightening up on the bottom end quite a lot, I'll do a 48 dB slope but I'll put it in linear phase, but I'll always check it first to make sure that it's not taken away from any transients or anything, because when you go to the linear phase, sometimes it can create pre-ringing. I did check that. Then you've got the kick with just filtered out for certain parts. I've then got the bass. This is the bass. And it's filtered down, but I've just got an R bass, adding a bit of sub frequencies around 50 Hertz. I've then got an EQ. Just pulling it in because that's where I wanted it in the mix. It doesn't sound great in isolated, but it sounds better in the mix. I've then added some Spectre just in the mix with everything playing. Needed a bit more oomph on the bottom end. Then got Bass Lane Pro, just made it a bit wider, around 250 Hertz. No clipping. Another filter. Bit of low cut every now and then just to give a bit of energy. I've also chopped up the bass line here. Again, automation is the key to a great track. So I've automated that. Just a bit of a low cut. Then I've got the music, and on the music I've got another Moog. So different layers to filtering, and I do this quite a lot. And it's because, you know, sometimes I want everything filtered, sometimes I don't want everything filtered. It's as simple as that. And that's why I create groups within groups within groups. So I've got the Moog cut off. I've got some resonance on that. No. What else have I got? That's it. Just on the music. Track spacer to the vocal, just so it's making a bit more space to the vocal. Strings, got a bit of a flanger on there, the UAD one. Bit of reverb, bit of width with acoustic and space control. Then got a guitar. Bit of EQ, just taking the bottom end out. Bit of Galaxy tape echo and a bit of reverb. Sometimes I don't use both of these, but the Capital Chambers is really nice. And then I'm just automating the volume on that with the gain. Again, lots of automation, that's the key to it. The piano. That's obviously quite heavily compressed, so I must have compressed that from software, then put it into the SP, then brought it back out. And I've got this other piano. There's a filter there, isn't there? So together, oh, the music sounds like this. String's not meant to be dead nice, but it's meant to be like it's been sampled off a record. And you know, I put it through the S2400. I don't know where the loop is. I might redo that, actually, record it, play it from CD into the S2400, resample it, and put it in and see how that sounds. Hi, Intricate Ink. So, again, automating where possible. There's nothing on the piano because I'm automating the music. And then I've got the drums. So, on the drums, I'm automating the mutator. Not a lot. I've just done that today, actually. And again, I love this filter. It's one of my favourites. But these don't sync up, so you've got to create macros here for, you know, macros for the left cutoff and the right cutoff and resonance and so on. And that's just filtered down here.
Two wrongs don't make a right, but I dedicate my body tonight. I need to feel you touch me, feel you deep inside. No more regret.
You get the idea, and then it builds up. And then today, I changed all the drums because the drums were done initially in the S2400. I was going for a certain style. I wasn't liking it. It worked, but I wasn't going for it. So I just went and found loads of loops and chopped them up. So I listen to the loops in the Finder, and then I'll get the MIDI. I'll convert it to a MIDI track and delete the bits I don't want. So I really like that clap in the mix. Then got just a snare build, and then I got this one. You see what I did here? I convert it to MIDI, then I take out the kicks or the claps, just get the bits that I really want. And then I've got the original hi-hat. And then again, I thought it was too clean, so I've gone for loops. But I went for loops at the end. I had the clap, I had the kick, and I had the open hat first of all. So the driving force is there, the rest of it is there just to give it that sound of like kind of maybe Tool River, no. The disco-y Mark Knight, James that more banging stuff. And again, it's not particularly a good sample, but it just worked in the mix. So anyone who knows me knows you start with the lead and then you work down, and this is like lead 14. So the idea of this was just give a bit more pace while giving it a little bit more grunge to the mix. And then I got another loop. And yeah, I must have just thought that added to the groove. Just got a crash. And that's the drums. Let's listen to the drums. And I've got an LFO tool on there, just making it all bounce together, so all the reverbs and everything bounce. And then I've got a bit of a clipper. I've actually not checked this since I changed it today. Yeah, I was obviously overdoing that there. So there's that. Now, I don't normally make my drums like this. I'm not a big loop person. I am, but I'm not like as much as this. But I just figured, what am I going to do with this track today? I've banged my head with it so many times. And I do like the elements. So I just thought I'm going to go down that vibe where it's a bit more commercial. And if we want DJs to play it, it's going to have a bit more energy so it bangs. And like I said, a lot of people, you know, if they only play bootlegs or covers, and not a lot of people are making original tracks, which annoys me really, because I'd like to see, you know, good music keep on being made, and there's not enough people taking the time to go and get vocalists or write music or, you know, do this whole thing that it takes to do it. They just want to get quick, you know, and not come up with ideas, and it's not easy. You know, it's not easy doing totally original stuff all the time, because you've got to come up with the ideas, you know, and then you've got to get DJs to play it, and most of the people playing this music aren't necessarily playing at any of the main big clubs. In the UK specifically, are playing a lot of bars and things like that. You know, there's only a couple of DJs out there that are touring because of this that you see in the main clubs, and one of them's Mark Knight. Even James Hurr, he makes records for everybody else. Great producer. We don't really see him out DJing that much. Who else is there who makes this kind of stuff? You know, Jay Vegas is one of my favourites, and you don't really see his name out there on big gigs, and that's the problem with this music, is it's not being played in a lot of the most, like I judge things on Ibiza. You don't hear a lot of this music played in the clubs. So where it is being played a lot is the bars, and you know, by other DJs who are into that kind of Beatport Top 100 and have got to play stuff to a crowd that aren't necessarily there for the music. They're there for the music, but they're there in a bar to see the mates. Whereas, and this is the reason why I don't DJ anymore, really, is because, you know, when I play in a club, I want to play what I want to play and keep people dancing, because I want people to go, oh, I love what Jason Hurd does, you know. And they're the DJs that I go and follow, because I love their vibe when they're DJing, and I just don't want to play the same old stuff all the time. So I'm keeping true to doing original stuff, and even the original stuff's kind of inspired a lot of the time, or writing music that is just, oh, I've not heard that 10 times before, which most of the stuff you have. So that's the drums. That's the drums and the... So they're a bit more slushy than what I would normally make, but I am going for a vibe, and you know, I mix down and produce for a lot of people. So when I'm mixing down, and their references are, for example, James Hurr or the Milk and Sugar stuff, or you know, some of Mark Knight stuff, or that vibe. A lot of the drums, you know, they have key bits to the drums, but then they have loops just to fill out the gap and do everything else. And I like programming drums, and this did have programmed drums before, but you know, it just wasn't biting with me. So that's it. That's the track. No, it's not. Oh, and I've got some effects, so just standard stuff for this kind of music. You know, rises, quite a few different kinds of effects here and there. You can see I've got, like, I forgot there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I've got 14 different kinds of effects. Not just got 3 repeated, all different things and everything else. So yeah, that's a track. And then we've got the vocal. And then what have I done? Now, I haven't mastered it as such, but I have done a master. Just so I can listen to it, so it's louder. So on the Pro Q3, nothing, just automating the volume. I've got the Alicia compressor. Adding a bit of glue, but what it's doing is just kind of giving a bit more presence to the clap and the vocal in the mid-range. I really like, I love this. So I'll push the soft clip a little bit, just so it's tickling it. And then I found the attack and release that I want, and then just got a threshold, just so it's tickling it. Because you've got to remember, on a master bus, you're going to lose your bottom end, because bottom end's going to be triggering it most of the time. And this is a great compressor. Before you tell me, I know there's a side chain here, so I can make it that the kick isn't side chaining it. And I've gone to under 80. But I just like, I would have obviously played with everything and then found what I preferred. So that's a great one for the master. And then he's got particle standard 44%. Let's level match that and see what it sounds like. Does something. And again, it's working on the mids that I really like, and just glues it together. What was it set at that? If any of you run Logic, right, that is amazing what you can do. Like, I forgot what the setting was. I just undo and it moves any parameter going on, third party, anything. I love Ableton for stuff like this. It's just, the workflow is brilliant in a lot of ways. So that's a God particle. Like, this was just to get it loud. Pro L2. Wasn't even doing anything. And then I've got Ozone, and I've got the low end focus. Oh, I don't know, Imager. That must have just been on it. Don't need that. Clarity. I love this clarity. I put about between 15 and 22%. And then maximizer. Balance, because there's less clipping on that. Just gain match it. So it's actually not producing any clipping. Oh, it's not playing, that's why. So you got to remember, when you're limiting and clipping stuff, even though it's not doing anything, listen to what it's producing. Weird that it should only be hearing the clipping, but I'm hearing the track for some reason. That's really good for listening to what you're doing. And then I've got the U lean on, and where am I at with that? And I've not really clipped it or limited it or anything. You know, I'm at -10 LUFS, -9 momentarily, and I haven't even started limiting or pushing it yet. I'm not doing any clipping. I'm not really. I've done a bit of soft clipping on the Elysia, but you know, I've not worked on it in that way. And I've got the volume already. Send that to a master engineer. He'll get it to -7. iHousey, oh, that's a lot of effects. It is a lot of effects, but you don't hear them all that muffled. Just attention to detail. Oh, that's a nice little touch. So let's have a quick listen to these. So this one here. Major, they're just different, so they just feels a bit different in different times.
I've been searching around.
I mean, there, you know, with the filtering and everything else, they're not all in your face. They're just little some things that make you go, oh, that's attention to detail, along with all the automation. So, you know, there's a couple here. Again, I'm not a big fan of using loads of stuff like this, but for the genre that I'm going through and the kind of labels, and when I was listening this morning, it's all got it in. You know, you listen to, you know, Very Tool Room, Kasim, you know, James Hur, that kind of stuff. It's all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it is 9. That's right. And this music, you know, this is what people want from this music. They want this energy. It's not, you know, it's not being played at DC-10. This. Well, you never know actually, because my other record, I just can't get enough of playing DC-10 a few times this year, which I would never have thought. So yeah, so that's this track. So what I'll do is I'll just rebounce it again, call it something else. File save live set as 3.3. I'll rebounce it without that over clipping on the drums. And then I'll listen to it in the morning. And in the morning I'll come to it and I'll go, right, I'm going to send it out. Or I'm not going to send it out. But I'm not going to spend any more time fixing it. Because when you A-B it next to some other tracks, so... It's got the punch of them tracks, if not more. It's a bit cleaner. So I might look at it, maybe just do a bit of reverb. But, you know, if I played this record next to them records, would the energy match? And the answer is yes. That's why I use referencing all the time. So I know the weight of the kick's really hitting the same as that track. I know this track works, okay? I've actually got a little bit more in the upper part of that, but I've got all the bass in there that I need to listen to. You know, my vocals got a little bit more warmth in it. You know, I'm happy with the mid-range, sounds really good. High end. You know, maybe I need to take down the hats a little bit if that was my reference. But remember, you can't reference too much because A, it's going to be in a different key. Their bass has got some lower frequencies in, so it's going to be different. But does it punch as much? You know, if they're level matched and you A beat and you go from this. You know, I might look at that and go, do you know what? I'm going to turn the clap down very slightly. Yeah, so it frustrates me because I'm used to my tracks being quite cleaner and not loopy. So for me, I listen to all them loops and the sounds, and I think, oh, it's a bit muddy. But then I listen to all the other tracks that are out there and use references and go, oh, maybe it's not muddy enough, which is weird. But I like it. I think it sounds good. I think it's got the energy. It's definitely got the energy of those other tracks. And I know that if I played it, the music alone wouldn't lose the energy on the dance floor. It wouldn't drop like a lot of tracks do. I actually got the kick 3 out today, but again, went to the old faithful F9 Argon Club kick pack and used one of James's kicks, which it's a great sample pack, that, you know, for some, like at the end of a track, and if you can't get kick to fit, there's always something in there. So let's have a look. Any questions for me for tonight? Disco ain't dead. That's right, Intricate. Regarding writing chords and melody lines, if you have a vocal, what would be your creative process to creating the right chord progression and melody line? Okay, so the vocal's the lead one. Everything's the lead one. So let's just say we've got piano and we've got lead 2. What we do is, and I don't play the keys generally, but Ross would come in, my writing partner, and he'd write some keys. I'd come up with some ideas, say, play this kind of piano, and I want it to go like din 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 din, and then he'll play the keys, and I'll come up with some variations, but it's always got to be around the vocal. The vocal's the lead. Don't mess with it. Do you know what I mean? And if you're trying to put a lead sound in over a vocal, like a synth or a sax, don't do questions and answers, or have the vocal then go into this lead sound which is over your groove, because a lot of the time when you've got like a dance track with a piano, a lot of the time that's the groove, the vocal's the lead. So two leads don't generally work together unless they're supporting each other. So I would have I'd always write to the vocal, and if I've got another sound that I really like, and I would hope it doesn't clash, I would generally put the lead sound. I don't need to be listening to 2 lead sounds. It's going to do my head in. I've already got the groove in the piano line, and then I've got a vocal, and I might have things that answer that vocal. So a lot of the time what I do is I write a track, like I did if you watch the Rona Ray video, and then Ross will come back and we'll write some music around the vocal. So we'll change the music to fit the vocal. And that's the thing. I always do that. And I always come out with something better, 90% of the time. Because, even though the singer sung it to that track, it's how can you make it, give it that extra 10%. And sometimes it's just, maybe just changing notes or adding a question and answer to the vocal or something like that. And it's what sits right with you. I'll get my guy to do the most obvious one to go with the chords of what the singer's singing, and then we'll come up with some variations, and I'll go yeah no, and I'll say what about this and what about that, and we'll take it from there. But it's like if you've got lead 1, it's your vocal. If lead 2 is your piano, everything's got to fit with the thing that's above it in the pecking order. If it doesn't, then you're just asking for problems. Thank you, Adrian, for your kind words. Any questions, anyone? That's what I'm here for. Music production, music industry, anything you want to know? Any plugins? Right. Okay. So, well, let's come up with something that I might do with drums. So something I might do on this is, let's have a mess around with some multiband. So something I might do is think, all right, you know, the mid-range needs to come through a bit more and needs a bit more body. So what I might do here is I might just try and, you know, do some compression in that area. So I might try and compress that area. So will turn the volume down, and then turn it up. So that'll give a bit more transience. And I'm listening to the time of the attack. And if you can see, I've let a lot of the attack through because I want the body to come through. And then a fast release. And I'll just use my ears to what sounds right. And I'll try that. Obviously, I'll do all that in the mix. So let's listen to that in the mix. Very slight, but it's giving it a little... just a little bit more in the mid-range with the clap, and that is, you know, the magic's in the mid-range. It just gives it a bit more smack there. And so what you're doing is you're compressing it, and you're letting the attack through, and then the release is probably waiting until it hits, you know, the next thing. Is an auto release on this? No. And then, so it's like the attack through and a bit of the body, and then when you level match it, it's kind of just got more of those frequencies in there, which is what slams and hits you in a club. Sounds really good, that. And then, so that's something I might do to drums. I might add parallel saturation. So Spectre. I'm not hearing anything there that I need. So this is a parallel saturation plugin, and then let's just say I want I would find it, I would boost it, and then I would use the mix knob here. So even though it's in parallel, it has a mix knob, but it's at 50% naturally. So yeah, I don't think it's needing anything in there. I've already looked at this. Drums. Again, I put an LFO tool on there, so all the reverbs are all bouncing together very slightly. You can't hear it. So the key to it, Bashi says, sometimes I feel like I try to get things to sound perfectly early in the process and ends up being a bloody mess and I lose control of everything. Well, we're going to sort that out, Bashi, because Bashi's just signed up for a one-to-one. A mix should be good without any plugins on, without any reverb, without any delay, really, right? It should be there 90%. For the sample choices. Sample choice is everything. If you have to, you know, boost the hell out of something to get it sounding okay, you've got the wrong sample. You know, if you have to boost something to sound amazing, then that's fine. You know, but sample choice is everything. Spartan, hi to Spartan. Not seen you before. Welcome. Hi. What is your take or trick to get a good relative volume balancing between individual elements? Right. Well, of course, it depends on the track. And if I was you, I would use Metric AB and just do what I did there, going through, you know, frequency isolation. But the way I work is this, right? I do my gain stage to -12 and I mix everything to the kick. Okay, so I'm listening to the top of the kick, right? So I'm listening to. So I know that's important. That. So I'm tuning into those frequencies, and in particular the mid-range here, right? And when the first thing I do is get the kick in, okay, and then I bring the volumes up to the kick of the most important things, and this is the key to it, right? I always want the kick coming through at every part of the track, right? So if I'm mixing a track, the first thing I'll do is make sure everything's gain stage, take off all the reverbs, all the plugins that the person's put on if it sounds messy, right? And I'll flatten it, okay? I'll gain stage everything to -12 with the fader at 0 with no plugins on, pre-fader. So that means I either turn it down in the synth or the drum rack here, or I go into the audio and I change it here, okay? And then what I do is the kick at 0, yeah, and it's only right at the end here. I thought the kick's too loud, I've turned it down, right? And I generally won't change the volume of the kick, and I'll mix everything up to the kick, but I'll start with the lead first, okay? So what I'll do is with this track, I would like, say I was mixing this now, I would go let's find a bit with piano in. Mix it in. bass. I'm listening to the bottom of the bass and making sure it's not messing with the bottom of the kick, right? And I'm listening to the top of the bass and listening to it in relation to the top of the kick. That's the key to it. And then I might just put a clap in just to give you that vibe. And all the time, everything I'm listening to, yeah, I'm listening to the kick. I'm listening to the top of the kick and the body of the kick. And they're the two things I don't want to lose at any point in the track, right? I will know straight away if I need to change the kick, but I'll mix everything to the kick. I'll also, you know, I don't need to anymore, but for you, use Mentorship KB with a track that's similar and level the matches of what's in the reference track to what's in your track. But I mix that. I mix to the kick. I mix to the bottom of the kick and the top of the kick. And I make sure that nothing's interfering with those, because I want that thump, you know. And if it is, if the music elements are hiding something, I'll change the other elements. So I'll always start with the kick and I'll always finish with the kick. Same with this track here, you know. The kick's the last thing that I changed today. It wasn't the kick I had originally. And I balance it that way. But I've got a great room, so I'm not just trying to use my ears, I'm trying to feel it. I'm trying to feel the kick in the bass. That's why I stay at the bottom end. A lot of my clients can't hear that, you know. I had one of my clients in today, and his mixes are tilted to the top, and it's not his fault. There's nothing he can do about it. It's his listening environment. So he's working headphones a lot. He's not got a properly acoustic room, treated room. His tracks are brilliant. We've just got to tune him in and teach him how to use what he's got to be able to get a balanced mix. But for me, feeling it is as important as hearing it. You know, and I've got a really well-tuned room. Got some of the best monitors on the market that work really well in this room. And I'm an old bastard, so yeah, I've got experience. But the one thing I don't do, well, I do it. But the one thing I tell everyone else not to do is don't listen to too loud for too long, because your ears just get confused about it. But what I do is I balance that way. And the other thing is, when I'm getting vocals in or hi-hats, I'll use the HS5s or that, right? Because I can tell what the level's like in them better, because they're smaller speakers. There are plugins, if you just, they're not brilliant, but you get the idea. I think it's called Mix Checker. I tried it. So this is meant to be like it's all different kinds of speakers, but it's not. But what it does is it just gives you different angles to listen to it, and if there's, you can hear different frequencies on things sometimes. So like, this is normal. Let's have a listen. So I'm listening to it and I'm going, right, the top of the kick's really coming through. I can't feel the bottom, but that's that speaker, right? But how's the bass? Oh yeah, I can just hear it coming through. I can't feel it, but I can hear it, so that's good. Hats aren't too loud, vocal isn't too loud. Any harsh frequencies? Let's try mono. Okay, so there's something a little resonant in there, but I'll have a look at that. Vocals a bit lost there. vocals could come up a touch. To bust the sidechain a bit more to the vocal. Oh, it's doing quite a lot. And yeah, so that's how I get a related balance. Just A being, you know, in your reference plugin to the frequencies and everything else. When writing tracks, do you finish an arrangement before mixing anything, or do you mix along the way? So again, like I said, 90% of the mix comes from the elements that you choose. And then I don't mix too much because I will generally change some sounds at the end. So if I start with a kick and a clap and an open hat, I get a piano, then a bass, then a Rhodes, then a synth, you know, that kick might be the wrong kick now, and the hi-hat might be hidden, and the clap might be hidden. So I'll put everything in the position to mix. I'll arrange it, and then I'll decide what I want to do to mixing it. And it's almost mixed when it's there. You know, I'll put low cuts, high cuts, quick EQ. I'll put a side chain on stuff, but I won't start distorting stuff or saturating stuff really until the end, because I don't want to add that kind of stuff. All that stuff takes away from the track, and I'll listen to it and go, it's a bit dry, that might need some saturation, or you know, it needs a bit of compression, that, or yeah, I'll do it that way. And the other thing is like when you're compressing things relative to everything else in the mix, so you can't do that till you've got it. And the other thing is, if you've got a journey and you've got like a verse, and the compression might be less in the verse on your drum group, you know, and then if you've got the same compression that goes into the chorus, that compression in the chorus might be over compressing because you've got more elements going into it. So I like to get the arrangements together and then start working on things like that. But if some things need something straight away, if I can hear it, then I'll do it. But for you, I would say make sure you've got the right sound straight away. That's the key thing to a great mix every single time. Well, nice to have some new people on. Too Spartan, intricate. I'm back tomorrow. Any more questions for me before we go? No? SP Vitalizer, what do you think about it? Love it on kick and bass and drums. If you like it and it works for you, then yeah, keep it. If it sounds better, it's again, these things. A vitalizer is adding harmonics, and I don't especially want to add harmonics to my kick and my bass. Yeah, because it'll affect the transients a lot of the time. But you know, who knows? Wait and see. Maybe you need it in parallel. Maybe it needs to just be frequency, just to certain frequencies. But I would definitely do it in parallel. I wouldn't put it on it, that's for sure. All plugins are good as long as you A/B it, you level match, and you see what it's doing in the mix to them items and to everything else. It's fine. So, you know, I'm okay for time tonight. So let's just try that. Have I got the vitalizer actually? I used to have it. Let's try that. Oh no, I don't have it. I used to have the bundle, so I had it then. Let's get rid of that. UAD do one here. So what I'll do is I'll get the kick and the bass. I'll group them together. Stick it on and see what happens. Is there a particular preset you use? I house you. Again, it's you have to play around with it, but there's so many different variations that it might work, it might not work. Yeah, I think it takes away from the transients. Again, I'm just little bits. I'm not doing much to it. No, I wouldn't use it on that because it's adding harmonics to both things at the same time, which I don't like. I like the transients to be in the bottom end that you can't really hear but you feel to be as din 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 din, like you're hitting them with a drum, you know, as hard as possible because that's what you feel in a club. So for me, no, I wouldn't use it personally. I used to use this, but more in the mid range if I remember correctly. Let's have a quick look at that again. Let's try some presets, see what happens there. Nice, it's revitalizing it. It's just making it a bit brighter, really, isn't it? And the question is, do I want it a bit brighter? I don't really know, to be quite honest with you. So, yeah, these kind of things I like. I use the Aphex Aural Exciter by Waves sometimes to brighten things up. There's just too many plugins to go by, you know, and I don't necessarily need it. I think I quite do like it on that bus. Made it a bit more exciting. Don't forget, when you're using something like this and you're adding, you know, harmonics to a certain frequency or brightening up or making it more exciting, you're also taking away from the other bits, and you've got to be very mindful of that. So yes, I hope that answers your question. There's a million plugins. I mean, look how many plugins I've got here. It's just like, you just can't use them all. I've got all them and I've got loads of them. So I just keep mine up in the favourites. So I've got my EQs, and I generally use EQ8, Pro Q3, Pultec. Well, this is compressors as well. I do use all these, to be fair. The Glue, Pro Q3, Pro G, Pro C2, Omnipress. I don't use so much. In fact, I've not used it for ages. Mag EQ, yep. Dyne 1. That's just a multiband compressor. CLA, might use that. Digital V3, I might use that just for the widening and the mono. Arouser I use all the time. And then Fave Synths, and then Fave Effects. So yeah, so I do use quite a few, but there's a million, and a lot of these will do the same thing as that. It's just exciting them. All right, everyone, thanks for joining in. I will see you tomorrow. Leave any messages in the comments and I'll address it as soon as possible. Have a great evening.